The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom Oral History Series, sponsored by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform the public of the sacrifices made by our veterans and their families in service to our country. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this Military Heritage Series. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Welcome to our program. During last year's Hall of Heroes induction ceremony, 2 new members were inducted posthumously. Joining us today are the 2 ladies who represented their loved ones during that ceremony. Julie Goodridge accepted the honor on behalf of her son Michael, who was the recipient of the Soldier's Medal. Michael passed away in the year 2000. And Clair Parr accepted for her husband Bernard Parr, who received the Distinguished Flying Cross for his bravery while serving in Vietnam. Bernie, as he was better known, passed away just last year. Having married career military officers, Julie and Clair will share their thoughts and comments about military life and how it relates to life as a civilian. Ladies, thank you very much for being with us. Appreciate your time today. Julie, you represented your son Michael at the ceremony. Tell us a little about Michael.
Well, Mike was an Army brat, and we lived on many military posts. Yeah. We arrived at Redstone Arsenal in 1978. Mike finished 8th grade at West Lawn and then went to Butler High School. He graduated from Butler High. He was very active in sports, on the soccer team, made the all-city soccer team, on the golf team, Key Club, class secretary. He was the leader, and he had many friends. Yeah. From there, he received a presidential appointment to West Point, United States Military Academy. He graduated from there in 1986, and from there entered into the military as a second lieutenant.
And now, tell us a little about, he received the Soldier's Medal. That was in Germany, right? Tell us a little about that.
Mike received the Soldier's Medal. He was coming home from the post, Bootingen, on his way home and near a town called Lindheim, and he saw several people standing along the road. So he stopped to see what was happening, and he saw a van tipped over, engulfed in flames. So Mike went running down, and he saw these arms coming out, and he pulled a man out of the van and wrapped him in his battle dress uniform and performed first aid until medical assistance came. And there was a helicopter that was coming to rescue, and Mike assisted in the rescue.
He stayed with them until the helicopter.
Right. Eventually, somebody helped Mike, but up until that, nobody was really doing anything to help. Sadly, Mike found out later there were still teenagers in the van. They were being transported to a camp in Germany. And the man he pulled out just said they weren't able to be saved. After that, Mike did not tell his unit about this incident, but after that, some of the German families came to the unit trying to find Mike and thank him for what he had done.
He wasn't looking to be a hero. I mean,
no, he wasn't. That was Michael. I can remember one time we were at the beach, and he saw somebody out in the water that he thought was drowning, and he went running out there, and I thought, he was a swimmer, but I don't know if he was that good. You know? So he was always rescuing people or standing up for people.
Looking out for people. Claire, what about Bernie? I know he loved to fly, and he could fix almost anything.
He certainly could. He got that from his dad. He entered the Army. His number was coming up. He knew his number was coming up, so he went down to the recruiting stations in town. And Air Force didn't want him because he didn't have a college education. And as he was walking past the Army recruitment center, he saw the sign in the window, want to fly helicopters? Don't need an education. And he said, oh, that sounds pretty good. And so that's how that got started. And so we went to basic training at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and then on to, at the time, primary helicopter school was at Fort Walters in Mineral Wells, Texas. And so he was there for many months and then finished up at Fort Rucker and he graduated in March of '67. And they discovered that he had, I'll say, a maintenance background. He used to work at a Volkswagen place. He was a certified Volkswagen mechanic. And so then they sent him to the maintenance course at Fort Eustis, Virginia, to learn how to fix these helicopters that he could now fly. And then he went to Vietnam the first time in July of '67.
And tell us a story about it. He was over there and he flew combat missions for us.
He did. When he got to Vietnam, he didn't tell anybody that he was a mechanic or that he was a maintenance certified over there. Yeah, he was flying regular combat missions, and then finally they said, "Hey, Mr. Parr," because warrant officers were Mr. You're not supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be over in maintenance. And he he said, "Really?" But flying the missions were more fun. That's why he was doing that.
Right. Now, both of you are from Maryland or Baltimore?
Bernie and I are both from Baltimore, correct.
I see, yeah. Julie, I'll go back to you. I want to ask you both, of course. Were you married when it was decided your husband would make a career in the military?
Well, we were married when he entered the military. He had a regular Army commission from college. And it wasn't until I was at our first post that I met all these other people whose husbands were only in for 2 years. And then I discovered mine was in for much longer. And, you know, through the years, I mean, as he went to different schools and so on, he was more and more committed. And after a while, you thought, well, gosh, we're 10 years, might as well stay in the rest of the time to retirement. But I was a little bit in the dark in the beginning.
What was your husband's first name?
Clair.
Clair, okay. Very so, okay. And he retired, when did he retire?
In 1985. He had been in 22 years and retired as a lieutenant colonel.
And he passed away just a few years ago, right?
11 years ago.
11 years, okay. Now, Claire, what about you and Bernie? I mean, you, when you married, was it decided on a military career?
Well, we had started dating just before he went into the Army.
Okay.
I met him, my sister's married to his older brother. That's how we met.
Okay.
I didn't think too much of him at the time. But yes, he went, we had just started dating when he went in. Actually, he went in on Valentine's Day, 1966. And then we were married December '66. So he was in the Army when I married him, so I knew what I was getting. I sort of knew what I was getting in for.
What kind of adjustment was it for you, Claire? I mean, and at the outset for you?
You know, Tom, it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
I'm a people person, and so I found it exciting. To meet new people and to go someplace different, it was just what you did. And like when he went to Vietnam, that's just what was going to happen, and you just accept that. The year that he was in Vietnam, I went back to work. I worked at Maryland National Bank in the trust department, and so I went back to work for that year that he was gone. He came home. He was home for 2 years, and then he went back again, so I went back to work. But it wasn't, I know some people have difficulty with it, but I didn't have any trouble. It was always exciting to go to these new places. And you know, it's funny, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like? People are people no matter where you go.
Whether in service or not service, yeah.
Yeah, so I found it very easy.
Yeah. What about you, Julie? What kind of adjustment was it for you?
Well, in the beginning, it was hard.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of the Mojave Desert, so the nearest town was...
A little warm out there.
And the nearest town was 40 miles away.
Oh.
And I had never been that far away from my immediate family.
And both of you are from New York. We didn't get
Western New York.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Different towns, but Western New York.
Right.
So here we are way out there, and I was always very close to my family. I also had been working before Claire went in the Army. And being in the middle of the desert, they only had an elementary school, and I was a high school and college teacher. So I no longer could work there. So I'm just telling you my beginnings of the Army. Eventually, I loved it, but it was just a little bit of a different adjustment compared to what I had been doing.
Something you kind of have to get used to, I guess. You know?
Right.
Yeah, grows on you a little bit, right?
It does.
Yes.
It truly
Yes.
does.
Well, talk about, Claire, what's the biggest hardship in being a military wife? Talk about that a little bit.
The biggest hardships, of course, would be when they're off at war. The worry. That's the biggest hardship. Now, we weren't blessed with children until we had been married almost 8 years. So fortunately for us, we didn't have children the 2 tours that Bernie had in Vietnam. But yeah, that would have been the biggest. And of course, you know, when he's out in the field training, and when we lived in Washington State, when we were stationed in Fort Lewis, and he was working with the guard unit, so he was gone a lot to help train the guards. But it wasn't just getting used to moving a new place. Then you have to find all the places to shop, all the places to do this and that and the other. That was difficult, but it wasn't hard.
What a hardship. You didn't consider it a hardship.
No.
You kind of grow accustomed to it.
You do.
Yeah. What about you, Julie?
I think the tour in Vietnam was very hard, and I did have little children. And you could not live on a military post back then, so then we had to find a place to live, and fortunately my parents had a large house and we stayed there. Claire had another tour in Kuwait. By then my children were older, but I think the hardship is always being separated with the husband off someplace and you having to raise the family. He had a few schools, and when the children were little, we went with him to the schools, but once the kids got in school, we just couldn't go with him. So I guess separation was probably the biggest hardship.
Right.
And Julie mentioned, back in our time, when the husbands went off, if you were living on post, for instance, you couldn't stay. You had to leave. Now, we never did. Well, actually, yes, we did. When we were at Hunter Army Airfield, we eventually ended up on post. But yes, the families had to leave post. It's not like today where they can stay.
I see.
And then also, back in our day, you just had letters. Today, today the kids have, they can
Internet.
And they can do the Skyping and all of that sort of thing. We never had that.
Right.
We never
Phone
had
calls were expensive.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have internet. On Claire's second tour, he had a tour in Kuwait for a year without us. We were able to stay at Redstone Arsenal. And that was partly because he was assigned to the HoH project on post. So that was a little better than the first time. The children didn't have to change schools. I had all my friends, all my activities. So things changed during the years.
Yeah. All right, we've talked about hardship. Julie, what about the advantage or benefit of a life in the military? Talk about that.
Well, we always lived on post. And I loved all my neighbors. Everybody was pretty much in the same age group. They had children that your children could play with. One of my friends says, "Oh, we envy you so much because everybody has so much in common." I liked the travel. We lived 3 years in Hawaii, which we never would have been able to afford at a young age. We had a tour in Germany. I loved shopping over there, eating. All the many friends that I've met. The military has many other advantages. The medical care. One of my children had surgery twice, which we never would have been able to afford. The commissary is a big savings. And like I said, we always lived on post unless it was a short tour of some type.
I see. All right, Claire, talk about the advantages or benefits of military life.
Well, Julie mentioned the friends. You meet friends who are your friends for life. And the amazing thing about military friends, you might not see them for 20 years. But when you do, you pick up right where you left off.
Wow.
And you always have something in common. So you can talk to anybody. It's really pretty amazing. All the different houses that we lived in, so that it's like, okay, now when I finally retire, this is what I like and this is what I don't like.
Yeah.
That's just mainly that was,
Well, you touched on it, like when you're stationed at one base and you move to another base, you're going to run into familiar faces, people that, you
run into people that you knew from long ago, or you run into somebody that knew somebody that you knew. It's really an amazing camaraderie.
In my conversations with veterans that have made the military a career, each and every one has discussed the extended military family. I want you both to talk about what that is and how it helped your family while in service. And Julie, we'll start with you.
The extended military family are friends that you celebrate holidays with, maybe go to church with, your neighbors, you're in activities with them.
Babysit for you on occasion?
Right.
Sure.
They take care of you when you're alone. When my husband was on a short tour, people always made sure that we spent holidays with them. If I had car trouble, they came, and they're people that help you. They're as close as your immediate family.
Pitch in, yeah.
Right,
Claire?
yes. When your hot water heater goes out, that's where you go to take a shower. When your washing machine breaks, that's where you go to do your laundry. They're just, it's your extended family. They're just always there for you, no matter what situation you're in or you find yourself in. What comes up, they're always there for you. There's always somebody who can help you.
There's always a plumber or
Absolutely.
Somebody, a repairman among the extended family members.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have gone to the Post Chapel and now the Bicentennial ever since we arrived at Redstone. And after church every Sunday, there would be a group of at least 12 of us that would go out to eat every Sunday. And we called each other, our extended family or our sister.
Right.
Our kids were in each other's weddings. We had a lot we spent holidays together. They helped in sad times as well as happy.
Well, you both mentioned earlier that you were employed out off the base, while your husband's in service. Talk about, I think you were a school teacher, right, Julie?
Right, and I only worked part-time and only at certain places. I think I told you before, we're an isolated post. Only if they were desperate would they call me to substitute at the elementary school, because that wasn't my field. And if I was desperate, I would drive 40 miles to the nearest town to substitute. Eventually, I taught at the Education Center, math and science, mostly math, for basic skills for the soldiers to get their GED. And I did that at our first post, and I did it in Germany. But then there was a time period when my children were little, and I did not teach. And sometimes the public schools were hard to get a job because you might not be certified for that state. I had New York and California certificates, but when I came to Alabama, originally I was going to have to take tests and so on, go to take some classes before I could be certified. And also sometimes at the education centers where a lot of military wives can possibly teach, if someone else has that job of your field, you have to wait till they move,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well, the extra income was helpful, I'm sure.
Oh, it was, especially when we were younger.
Yeah.
Now, my last job here, I really don't think I started till after Clair retired, and that was with Calhoun Community College, but it was on Redstone Arsenal. All my jobs were on military posts.
Yeah. Claire, you were in banking, right?
Well, I was a secretary in the trust department, Maryland National Bank, where I started there when I got out of high school. And then when we married, when Bernie went to Vietnam both times, I went back there for those years that he was gone. But the rest of the time, we moved so often. In the 20 years in the Army, we moved 11 times. 9 of those were in the first 7 years. So it was pointless to get a job.
Yeah, you can stay employed at the same place very long.
Exactly.
Okay, I want you to give us your thoughts on raising a family. Now, we've touched on this a little bit, but I want to go in a little more depth. Give us your thoughts on raising a family while in the military. You have to move around a lot, different schools, different communities. What kind of impact did that have on your kids? We'll start with you, Claire.
Well, as I had said before, we weren't blessed with children until we had been married for almost 8 years. Our oldest son, Gary, we moved to we were in Washington State. That's where Gary was born, at Fort Lewis.
Right.
Yes, and then we transferred to Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks, Alaska. Gary turned 2 right after we got there. But he was such a terrific traveler because we took a month to get there. So from Washington State, we went south, and then we came across. We went back to Maryland to see family, and then we headed back up north. And he was a great traveler, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then we were in Alaska in Fairbanks at Fort Wainwright for 4 years, and so he grew up there, but it was great. We truly enjoyed it. We truly enjoyed it.
Changing schools like that.
He didn't have that because he was so young.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to preschool just a couple of mornings a week as he got a little older there. Just because in the winters in Alaska, if you don't make yourself get out of the house, then you're in trouble. And so, and the kids don't see each other because, you know, we're in Fairbanks, we're talking -20 is normal. So that's what he did. But he met friends that he's still friends with. And one little thing about living in, we're talking about housing, living at Fort Wainwright, we had the northernmost set of family quarters in the United States Army. Oh, wow. That we had that privilege.
Had the heat on quite a bit. All right, your thoughts, Julie, on raising children in the military?
Well, I think one nice thing is the kids always had other children to play with within their own age group. They loved all the youth activities that were offered. I think my children went from sport to sport, and they could walk to the practices. That was a nice thing about living on posts. They could walk every place. We had a tour in Hawaii, and the kids were 5 and 9, so they were good ages to be able to take every place.
They love the beach there too, I'm sure.
They loved the beach. Mike, my husband, and I all learned how to golf in Hawaii.
Really? Okay.
And prices were reasonable because you did it on the military.
Right, yeah.
The schools, well, some places we were at, the schools were quite good, and sometimes the next post the children would be ahead, sometimes they would be behind. But they were usually with other military kids and adapted real well. I think both my children developed good leadership qualities, social qualities of being able to get along with everyone. And I just think it was, in most cases, beneficial. The only time it was a hardship is when we moved in the middle of the year. And that only happened once, from Virginia to here. Children missed out on, Michael missed out on basketball tryouts.
There's some of his sporting activities, yeah.
Right. We had trouble finding a piano teacher for Debbie here. Few things like that, but generally the military moved you in the summer, so you didn't run into the school problems.
Right.
We also, in every move, we turned it into a sightseeing tour. We wouldn't hurry to the next post, and
make it interesting.
We did.
Right.
That's what we did.
And often it seemed like one time we would have a tour on the West Coast and then on the East Coast. And so we took the northern route one time and the southern route another, and showed the kids where they were born. And
you ladies could write a book, you know.
That was another thing that I really liked about the moving, was I got to see the country. Because we didn't just go from here, you know, from point A to point B. We went
we made it
in
like
between.
a vacation.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
And my parents appreciated it too. They visited us every place. Came
When
to
they
Hawaii, Germany, back and forth.
When the opportunity was there.
Right.
Claire, what advice would each of you, or start with you, give to a young couple who may be just starting out a career in the military? We'll start with you, Claire.
Oh, golly. Okay. Your life is not your own. The Army will make the big decisions for you, and you just have to accept that. You have to just let it happen. Don't try to fight it. It's an amazing, amazing life if you let it be. Sure, it's hard, and you have to be the sole parent a lot of times, and there are decisions that you have to make by yourself. If you have a career, you have to put it on hold for a while, that sort of thing. But there's so much to gain from it, so much to gain if you just let it happen.
Okay. Julie, your thoughts?
I would say get involved.
Yeah. Stay active.
Join any activities that are offered. Go to chapel if that's your church choosing. They have activities there. I always joined everything at the Wives Club. In fact, I'm still in many of
You're still active. Yeah.
I'm still in many of the same activities. Have your children get involved, whatever, you know, whether it's scouting or sports or music. I would say, you know, get involved in the military community. I would recommend living on post from all my experiences, but I do know things have changed. I also would say when you're assigned at different places, whether it's a foreign country or the United States, to travel, to see as much as you can of the area that you live in.
That locality, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mentioned before we were stationed in Hawaii. Well, we didn't have to rush from island to island like people that are on a tour. We would go for a week and then maybe 6 months later to one island, and then 6 months later go to another. So we saw 3 or 4 different islands. We went to the big island, stayed on in a cabin, walked the volcano.
Took a lot of pictures, I bet.
Right. And then in the United States, if it was a state that we had never been in, we'd try to travel around it. So I would say travel too.
Yeah, very important part of it. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. But you mentioned pictures. When we were going to Alaska, every corner that you went around, it's just, you know, one site was more beautiful than the next. I have my daughter and my son-in-law are stationed in Alaska right now in Anchorage. Ben happens to be in Afghanistan right now, and I was up there recently. And my daughter's taking me different places in Anchorage, which I hadn't visited too much in Anchorage because we were in Fairbanks and there's a whole lot to see up that way. And I'm snapping pictures, and she's laughing at me. She says, "Yeah, Mom, everywhere we go, one's pretty." And I said, "You know, the funny thing is, I did this same thing 40 years ago."
Yeah, forms lasting memories. Julie, after a long career in the military, what kind of adjustment was it for you to return to civilian life?
I think the hardest part was moving off post.
Yeah.
We had never owned a house before, so we had to find a house, and now we have the maintenance of a house and yard.
Yeah. Everything that goes with that, yeah.
And I live in a wonderful neighborhood. Everybody is really friendly, but it was unusual to have very young families and very old families living with you when you've always been around contemporaries. I actually never gave up a lot of the activities in my church.
Yeah.
I still drive 20 minutes or more onto Redstone Arsenal to go to church, to bowl, to be in garden club, all my activities. So in a lot of ways, I don't feel like I ever left the military except for the house.
Yeah.
Claire, what kind of
The
adjustment?
hardest part was not moving, because you accumulate so much stuff when you don't have to move. So that was difficult to get used to.
Yeah, yeah. What brought you and your family, you and Bernie, to Huntsville after retirement, Claire?
Well, our last assignment was to Redstone Arsenal. Bernie worked in the MLRS project. It was still in the transition stage. It wasn't quite ready to be used yet, and so he spent a lot of time at White Sands. And so from there, and then he was a company commander for headquarters company, and then he was over in ballistic missile defense over on Wind Drive. And then we retired out of there. So we were here for about 6 years when he retired. And so we just stayed because we'd been here long enough that we knew people and we liked the area. Taxes were good. And it was just a very welcoming community, a military community.
Right, yeah. Julie, what about you and your husband, Claire? What brought you to Huntsville?
Well, this was his last duty station also. And the children and I lived on post for 7.5 years in 2 different houses. Claire was first with the ordnance school, and then he had a short tour to Kuwait, and then he was reassigned back here. And we liked the area, we loved the people. I think Huntsville has a lot to offer. The botanical gardens, the symphony, all the plays, and they are a big military community. We have a lot of friends that retired here, and jobs were good for my husband. He was worked with a defense contractor after retirement. So we didn't really come from any place else. We came in '78, liked it and stayed, and I've watched friends come and go.
But both of you still stay in contact with a lot of the friends that you served.
Oh, absolutely.
At different bases.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, because at the time that you were stationed with them, that was your family. And like I had mentioned before, even though you might not see them for many years, but when you do, you just pick up right where you left off.
New old friendships,
I still exchange Christmas cards with people from almost every post we've been at. And I've been on a ladies bowling team that has traveled to some of the national ladies conventions. And they're always in a different city. And almost every city we have visited, I have an old military friend there. And the rest of the group gives me such a hard time. But we've been to Reno twice, and I saw friends that I hadn't seen in 35 years.
Wow.
And they came and took me all around, and it was like we'd never left each other.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I want you both to tell me about your families. I know you're proud of your grandkids, so we'll start with you, Julie.
I probably will talk too much.
The grandma
My
about
family-
their
That's why I say
grandkids.
the last question. You know,
Right. My family lives in Naples, Florida. My daughter Debbie is a pediatrician. My son-in-law John was in the National Guard for 22 years, and he was in law enforcement, but now he's pretty much the caretaker of the family and getting the children to school and sports. And I have 2 grandchildren. Allie is Allison, and she's 15, goes to a private Christian school. She's a sophomore, one of the captains of the soccer team at school and on a school travel team. She's plays the keyboard and the piano and is in the worship team at her church.
You get to visit them quite often, too. don't you?
I go, yes, I do. I go about 3 times a year and stay 3 or 4 weeks because I have a second home in Naples. I also try to take them on a vacation every year. So we've been to Hawaii and Alaska and North Carolina, New York, all over. The second child, Kason, Allie is real sweet and very concerned about other people.
Right.
The second one is a boy, Kason. He's 11. He is quite a bit different than his sister. He's very lively. He's very active. He likes to tease people. He's real competitive. We play games, and he just does everything to beat me. And he's a wonderful athlete. He is really good at soccer. He plays on a travel team and a school team, but he's still in grade school, so he goes from one sport, basketball, soccer,
Very active,
very active. I could just call him a kind of a little character, but
I know you're very proud of both of them.
and both children are very smart, very, in fact, Kason has a memory that could beat me at memory games, especially if it's a subject that I don't know, whether the cards are football players.
He's taking advantage of you.
Yes, yes. But they're both on the honor roll. Excellent students.
I know you're very proud of them. Claire, you have several. How many
I
grandchildren
have
do you have?
5 grandchildren
Wow,
now.
okay.
The oldest one is 11. I know a lot of folks my age, they have grandkids who are in college and getting married and things like that. My oldest one is 11, and the youngest one is 2.5 months. My son Gary, our oldest, he lives in Rhode Island with his wife Lisa, and their 2 little girls, Aubrey and Chase, who are 7 and 4. And then in Huntsville, my son Justin and his son Andrew. I have a former daughter-in-law and her husband, Mary and Nathan, and they're just like, they're still family.
Sure,
They're still family. Andrew is 11 and a sharp little kid, and he was Grandpa's helper. He was always helping Bernie.
You like to fix things. Huh?
He did, and Bernie would let him and teach him how to do things, but when it came to cell phones, Bernie, he'd get a new cell phone, and Andrew would have to show him how to use it. You know, it was one of those
Like my
kind.
grandson.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but he's a sweetheart. He's a gem. And then my daughter Katie lives in Alaska right now. As I said, her husband Ben he's in Afghanistan right now. He's a West Point grad, and they have little Aiden, who is 4.5, and then they just adopted a native Alaskan, little Peter, and he's 2.5, and he's so precious. All of them are so
I know
precious.
you're very proud too. Julie, Claire, I want to thank you both for being our guests today, and thank you for participating in our oral history interview series. At this time, we usually like to thank our veterans for their service to our country. We think it's only fitting to thank you as well for your service and your sacrifice. Thank you, ladies, for being with us today. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage Series, please contact the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.org. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.